Welcome back to WKYT News. This afternoon, Dr. Stephen Stack, the Secretary for the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services, weighed in on new recommendations from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The new federal guidelines recommend fewer vaccinations for American children. Among the vaccines no longer recommended are those for hepatitis A and B and the flu.
New at 6, WKYT's Jackson Plank and photojournalist Darnell Crenshaw share what Dr. Stack had to say about those new recommendations.
I think this has confused the public, and the best advice I can offer is the public should ignore the federal guidance. The federal guidance is not based in science or fact.
Dr. Stephen Stack is advising Kentuckians to get their vaccine information from their doctor. He says the federal government has shaken the public's confidence in immunizations.
Has already contributed to a further decrease in the number of people who get immunized and has already recklessly endangered the American people.
On Monday, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a well-known vaccine skeptic, released new guidelines. Secretary Kennedy says the new recommendations better align the U.S. with other countries that require fewer shots. The HHS dropped recommendations for hepatitis A and B, meningococcal disease, rotavirus, and flu. The HPV vaccine recommendation dropped from 2 doses to 1. Dr. Stack emphasizes that these are just recommendations and local school vaccine requirements still apply.
In that context, what HHS says is irrelevant. It comes down to what either the state law or the school requires.
But in Kentucky, there are medical and religious exemptions. Dr. Stack highlights what vaccinations can do or the lack thereof.
And we found that when we immunized people with HPV vaccine, we could nearly eliminate entirely cervical cancer. You don't want your child to get meningococcal disease because 10 to 15% of them die within 24 hours.
Last month, a Kentucky child died from the flu. Dr. Stack says last year, 280 children died across the U.S. from the virus. 90% were not vaccinated.
What a tragedy. If out of all of those people, there could have been, 260 or so who didn't have to die because they'd been immunized.
In Lexington with photojournalist Darnell Crenshaw, Jackson Plank, WKYT.
And Dr. Stack and his cabinet will continue to urge Kentuckians to follow the expert advice from their doctor.